and welcome to Friday Facts number 394, Assembly Flipping as Circuit Control, and I have my good friend, my absolute master of circuits. How you doing, Mojo?
Sure, I was expecting to say flipping Mojo.
No, I was going to be polite today because this Friday Facts is all about you. This is,
at least a third of it is.
This is something you've been looking for a long time.
My Make Everything is going to become quite the monstrosity, isn't it?
Mojo is going to spend the first month of Factorio 2 coming out, not playing the game, just going to be wiring up blueprints.
Yeah, I'm just going to be wiring assembly machines.
And updating all the train tracks. Updating all the train blueprints.
Train tracks are first. I've got to do things in order.
Yeah, because that's going to be easier and quicker than doing the assemblies and the circuit controls. Okay, let's get into.
Yeah, because I'm definitely going to be avoiding the assembly machines at one point.
Oh, yep. Let's get into the meat of the Friday Facts first. So, assembly machine circuit control. Being able to change the recipe for an assembly machine using circuit network is an obvious feature we considered in the past. The idea was always postponed as we didn't see an easy way to solve the problem of potentially having unrelated items to deal with when the recipe was changed. Solution is actually pretty easy. We created a special dump inventory in the assembly machine to put the extra items in there. So, Mojo, my first question I have for you. Dump inventory.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Makes sense. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. So there's a little video a little further down.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
So I did actually do a frame-by-frame check, and when the recipe changes, you see the unrelated items be ejected.
Into the dump inventory.
Or out of the assembly machine. So what my interpretation of is the dump inventory is sort of like a secret inventory that's like an output inventory that then gets removed from the assembly machine.
By inserters.
Which can then be removed by inserters, yes.
Okay. But the only way you're going to be able to remove things from the dump inventory if you're trying to remove specific items is with filter inserters that also have the same circuit condition set to the item you want to remove.
Oh, you don't need to have them set to anything. The video shows stack inserters removing the items.
But they could take stuff out of the dump inventory rather than the item you want actually crafted, yes?
I imagine that's why they have two inserters.
Yeah.
Also, you can just use active provider chests.
Yeah.
There are ways around it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking dumping on the ground would have been my answer. Just dump it on the ground, mark it for decon. You know?
Yeah.
That would have been just a quick, easy answer, and as long as, bots eventually pick things up, you won't end up with UPS problems. So, yes.
The mod ID.
Yeah.
Literally just drops it on the floor around the
machine.
You just end up with this ever-increasing mound of stuff surrounding the assembly machine.
As long as they're auto-marked for decon, which is what normally happens with most mods that have, contents dropped on the ground, then construction bots just come through and sweep it up. It takes like half a second. I know, because I have...
It's like a active provider chest with extra steps.
No. It's like an uncontrolled active provider chest. Yes. That can also decorate the floor and give you interesting patterns. Yeah.
See, from going back to this mod idea, so you need to make sure that it dumps it on the floor, but doesn't mark it for deconstruction specifically for JD.
Yeah, no, you can already set that as an option when... You can already set that as an option. Trust me. I already have an integration that does that. You've
already been there.
Yeah. So the dump inventory is right next to products can be removed from the assembly machine in the same way as the normal products. It means you have to be careful when creating designs which use the circuit network to set recipes, as you must ensure that you handle the leftover item output. Another important part about setting the recipe is you'll only need to check set recipe signal when it finishes crafting, so it won't cancel any in-progress crafts. You don't have to worry about precise timing. Once we figure out how to handle setting the recipe, we could easily add some more utilities, enable, disable, simple on-off switch, set the recipe, read the ingredients, read recipe finished, a one-tick signal emitted when the crafting cycle completes, and read working outputs the signal whilst the assembly machine is still running. All of these things together should make it possible to make more generic assembler setups for those who like to dig deep in the automation of automation. And now I'm thinking about a storage. So Mojo, we have quality coming up, okay, in the future.
Yes.
Okay. So you could automatically have, things are going to get trashed and whatever and go into central storage. And you could have a couple of assemblers that have a check from the Logi network that say, okay, I finally have enough, tier crap +1 yellow inserters. Try and make me a level 2 inserter or enough components to try and upgrade some of your junk. Or maybe run a recycling machine, because I'm assuming we can enable and disable a recycling machine using the same circuit network. Because I assume a recycler is sort of like an assembler.
The fact that they've done it to assembly machines means that you're not too far off doing it to a recycler as well.
Yeah. So maybe be able to finally get into a position where you're like, okay, that's it. We're going to trash, so many of these because I now have so many of the higher tier in the network. And turn on and enable disable machines. Also, I finally got, enough gears, enough green circuits that I can attempt to make 100 of the, blue, good quality, perfect, legendary, whatever, as inserters. All right? Because there's enough random crap showed up in the network that we can try and get some stuff upgraded.
What you would do is just junk it anyway. Just keep trying. It's easier to just keep trying than having lower tiers floating around.
Yeah, but like lower tier intermediates, what are you going to do with them? My answer would be put them in a chest, and shoot them. But that's me.
I mean, you just have it absorb into the trashing system.
Yeah,
It'll chew through it eventually.
Yeah, but in theory, there's a chance they might get upgraded with. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Is that? I feel like there's another new combinator, or have they changed the graphics for the other combinator? Or am I remembering the graphics wrong?
They had multiple graphics settings on them. So we're talking about the orange ones on the right, right?
The ones with the Q.
The ones with the Q, being the orange ones on the right, the orange LEDs.
Yes.
Yes. So they've got multiple symbols on top according to what they're doing. So we got the Qs, then beside that we've got a question mark. I've got no idea what a question mark means. No idea whatsoever. It's a questionable item.
It's a questionable combinator.
Yeah, but they show the item, they show the icon on top for the operation that they're doing.
The operation that they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what a Q is. I didn't spot that before. I don't recognize it.
Quality?
Probably it'd be some
quality? Going on a weird question mark, assumption quality.
Potentially. It doesn't seems very specific.
Oh, you gotta put some sort of symbol on top. I don't know. It's all wires and smarts and stuff. I've got no hope when it comes to this stuff. I'm gonna walk away. I'm not even gonna look at it.
I do like how there's a giant block of combinators above this as well.
Yeah, and the lines below.
It surprised me if it could be simplified considerably.
I'm wondering how much of that's put there for art reasons.
Oh, very likely.
And I'm wondering if any of the wires actually hooked up to any of the machines and inserters are actually doing anything.
It's possible it is entirely unrelated and it's actually a Madziri lag machine.
Yeah.
Because the lag machine did look like that.
Yeah. Okay. So then we come on to Flipping for Real by Josh. With the release of version 1.1, blueprint flipping was introduced, allowing you to flip whole sets of items horizontally or vertically before placing them. It came with some caveats, however. Many buildings with fluid outputs couldn't be flipped. For most entities of the game, flipping them is simple, mirroring their position about the center of the blueprint, and then rotating 180 degrees, if necessary, since if something is facing northwards and then flipping it horizontally has no effect on the direction. Repeating this for every item in the blueprint and you got yourself a flip blueprint. But there are some interesting caveats to this, like undergrounds. Do you actually want to turn around since now outputs would be facing each other and generally want to leave the reverse direction on the belts traveled? Splitters also need input and output priorities flipping. The flip splitters in this image have opposite priorities. The left splitter has priority as left and the right splitter has priority as right to achieve the same effect as prioritizing items from the north. There are some more complex cases that just don't work out with this rotational method and therefore have to be blocked for now. Like oil refineries. If you flip a refinery, the blueprint will block you just because it just doesn't make sense. There's no way to rotate a refinery into a flip state. At best, your fluid setup wouldn't work. At worst, you would be mixing fluids like this. Notice the steam pipes now lead to the oil inputs on the copied refinery.
I mean, at least they're only inputs, not outputs.
Yeah. Getting the outputs mixed up is bad.
Yep.
The only proper
it's not that bad these days, but it's it's not great.
It's not good no matter what, especially if you don't realize and you walk away and you suddenly find out the whole line's not working because, you know, there's one bit of heavy oil in your petrochem pipe that just blocks the whole thing.
At least there's a delete button now.
There is a delete
previously,
button.
You didn't have a delete button. You'd have to manually chase down all the pipes and drain them manually.
You'd have to at least cut the sections that had the bad liquid in it and then remove all the pipes, then put them all back. Control-Z was used often. Also, filter decon planner for all
Control-Z
pipes.
is used until you forget that you did something in between and accidentally undo like an entire train unload.
Yeah, that happens too. But, you know, also you'd look at the oil refinery, notice the fluids are mixed and just, you know, find out what the problem is, remove that one item, and then filter decon planner all pipes, select the whole area, wait for the bots to clean it all up, and then Control-Z and they can put it all back. Just to fix one little mixed fluid. Yep. So the only proper solution is flip for real. Actually flip the blueprint around the axis to produce a mirrored result. So the inputs and outputs where you might expect them to be. This is easier said than done. This pipe still have to line up with the connection points on the blueprint building itself, or we end up in a even weirder territory of fluids going into walls. There needs to be limits on how buildings could flip. A lot of doodling on graph paper to visualize all the options. I end up allowing blueprints to flip over their line of symmetry, so inputs and outputs should still match once flipped. If a building doesn't have any symmetry, it can't be flipped as there's nowhere for the pipe to go on the other side of the building. Looking at you, pump jack. The poor pump jack.
Yeah, so we don't get pump jack.
It's still being screwed. It's still being screwed.
It's one thing we don't get.
The oil refinery has horizontal symmetry, so you can flip all the coordinates of the inputs, the outputs over the vertical axis and still land on a usable pipe connection. Those of you remember your high school geometry and you realize how to perform a vertical flip, you can mirror horizontally, then perform 180-degree rotation to get the same result. So every building only needs one line of symmetry to be mirrored, and they can be rotated to suit. With the pipe connections mirrored, the fluid input outputs now match what the flipped pipe setup needs. So we now have actual flipping for reals, which does simplify a lot of refineries. A lot of refineries.
So it's much less headache.
Yes.
Much less headache.
Yes, and it also means you don't have that weird section where you're trying to back two refineries into one another, and like some of the pipes line up and other the pipes don't line up, and they require
trying to make them cross over each other.
This little zigzag here and there, and Yep. The available symmetry for each building is detected automatically when the game loads, so mods can make use of this feature without changing anything too. If their buildings have symmetry on their fluid connections, they can be flipped. So I could finally tidy up some of the buildings on my space exploration playthrough. This is when I stumbled into the final boss. This is the Space Manufacturing from Space Exploration mod. It has 12 pipe connections and only diagonal symmetry. It had me back to pen and paper, scratching at the corners of my brain, haven't used for a while. Flipping over a diagonal doesn't just move the position, it also rotates by 90 degrees, throwing off all my current code that could reliably just rotate 180 degrees. After some mild weeping, I began reworking large chunks of code, taking account a directional adjustment when diagonal symmetry was in play. Eventually it worked again, and I could basket a nice clean back-to-back mirrored builds. Now that flipping is working on all buildings, and decided it was worth expanding that to everywhere you might want to flip something, not just when holding a blueprint. Hovering over a building, press F or G will let you flip it. Flipping something in your hand before placing it when copying and pasting from a machine to another, although this won't change the direction, just the flip nature of the pipe connections. In this way, flipping becomes the first class operation alongside other things like rotate. You should be able to use it anywhere that feels natural and have it do a sensible thing. Yes, finally refineries that are going to look...
They can plug into each other.
Yes, simple and compact. Yeah, because it now means that's a 3-pipe gap or a 3-tile gap between the 2 refineries for your 3 different outputs, and then a 2-tile gap behind the refineries for your 2 inputs, and rinse and repeat.
Yes.
I really hope we
back to back in, back to back out.
Yep, I really hope we do something about pipe throughput limits in 1.2, 2.0 expansion / DLC. Because refineries just got a whole lot bigger. Because they're now easier to make bigger. Much easier to make bigger. Yep.
And keep in mind that arrangement is unbeaconed as well. So it's only got... I mean, it does make beacon builds easier as well. So...
Well, yes.
I can think of a few combinations where pipes are tangled in beacon builds, so it's going to be interesting.
But they tangled because of the beacons?
It's usually just the way where the pipes come out and have to join up.
Well, there's always a chance. There's always a chance that they could actually do something about a beacon, so you don't just pile them everywhere. And we could do, something special about a beacon. Like bigger beacons that affects more area, like space exploration style. It's possible.
It'd actually be interesting because if you had a legendary quality refinery, it's already producing a lot more than the standard one already, and then beat legendary beacons.
With legendary modules in it as well. Can't forget those legendary modules. That extra productivity on the extra productivity with some extra speed with the extra speed. Unloads the whole oil tanker straight into a tank, straight into a pump, straight in the back of one refinery, and it's all empty and done instantly. Yep. So finally we have the stack versus bulk inserter. After last week's Friday Facts, there was a lot of discussion about the naming of the stack inserters and the bulk inserters. In short, it makes no sense that the stack inserters don't stack items on the belt, and the bulk inserters do stack items on the belt. No. The bulk inserter put bulk items on the belt, and the stack inserter moves stacks, but not bulk items, because bulk items went on a belt in a stack format, but stack inserter moved bulks of items from machine to box, or box to belt, or belt to box, or belt to train, but it didn't move bulk items, it moved stack items.
It moved a stack of bulk items.
Yeah. The stack inserter that didn't stack, and the bulk item that didn't move stacks of bulk. Yep. We tend to agree.
Normally stacked in one.
Normally we try not to change too much when we're adding new features, but in this case it just makes it too confusing. So in 2.0, stack inserters will be renamed to bulk inserters, and the new inserter, which can take place of stacks, and the new inserter, which can place stacks of items on the belt, will take the name of stack inserter. As always, flip your thoughts into the usual places. So now my question is, why aren't we doing that now?
Stack inserters or bulk inserters?
Well, why are we not changing it now? They're still doing updates for version 1.1. So why not sleep in the name change now?
I can imagine in the next day or two, they just slip in a patch to change the name.
Yep. It's one of those things that if the community is going to have some questions, but then they're going to get used to it, then you won't have people jumping from because potentially there are going to be in the future people buying version 1.2 where they will be called bulk inserters that will move stacks, bulk items from machine to machine, machine to belt, whereas the new stack inserters, which actually move stacks of items and stack them on a belt, pallet style, will be limited to the expansion with the new tier of belt.
I mean, I can't see them having the name change between base and expansion.
Well, no matter what, when version 1.2 comes out, the name's going to change. And then you're going to have a situation where the stack inserter is now called a bulk inserter, and a stack inserter also exists at the same time. And they're both going to suddenly exist at the same time. Whereas if you change the name now for the next, we'll pretend it's 3 months before the expansion comes out, but realistically 2 years, stack inserters don't exist, but bulk inserters do. And then finally the expansion comes out, and then stack inserters re-exist again. Right?
I'm expecting them to change it in the not too distant future.
Yeah, Hopefully, maybe we'll see. So yes, Mojo has some work to do.
It's entirely possible that they came up with a name change like yesterday or something, and they just haven't incorporated, or they have incorporated it into the next round of patches. They just haven't released it yet.
I haven't released it yet. Yeah. Well, I've been told the current version that popped out in experimental is one of those critical versions that doesn't work. Somebody made a boo-boo. I don't know. I haven't gone looking. But Mojo has some work. You can be flipped off in the future when eventually the expansion releases. You can also be horizontally actually rotated via a flip 90 degrees, geometry, high school maths, use a pen and paper. Yep.
JD Brain Explodey.
Well, look, it is 10 a.m. and I've been up for 7 hours after getting
Only 7
4 hours sleep. So yeah. Brain work good. But I think that is it. For Friday Facts 394. We now have confirmed, even though we confirmed a couple of weeks ago, we now have flipped refineries and flipped chem plants. The poor pump jack has been screwed once again.
Everyone is sad because they can't get the other connections. What is it? The two sides which you physically can never connect to.
You can connect to bottom left and top right.
Yeah, you can't get
You can't get top left. You can't get bottom right.
left.
They don't exist. Oh, maybe it's I don't know. There's two directions you can't get, and you're just screwed. All right? I was really hoping they'd fix it. Yeah, and there's nothing stopping them having it output like on both options on every corner. So doing
it output in the center, so then it can rotate all the way, just like a mining drill.
Oh, hang on. That's fundamentally changing the graphics. That requires the art team. Now you need multiple different departments to approve that.
Oh, yes, that's true.
No, I'm just thinking that you could just have it so, it has a flipped orientation of the image. So you could have it output on the left side at the top, or on the top side on the left on the top. Also, top right and right top. Yep. Just output on all four corners, like in each rotation, and just have it do a little bit weird of a flippy, rotaty thing, right? Because it already does a really stupid thing when it comes to just rotating it. It doesn't rotate properly. It doesn't rotate around 90 degrees. Occasionally it flips. Because pump jacks be special. But yes, that is it for this week's Friday Facts. Mojo, again, next week. Bets, place them.
See, the trouble is, I did a bit of a catch-all with we're not going to know. We're going to it could be anything because now all the fundamentals have changed, and in a way, circuit-controlled assembly machines is another one of those. Having said that, though, we already knew about the flipped blueprints and didn't call that one.
So we didn't call it. It was coming, but we didn't call it.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Did call the bulk stack inserter stack bulk inserter bulk inserter stack. Yep, that had to be changed.
That was also the idea of stacking on belts was another one that was never going to happen, and then now they changed.
Oh, so you're predicting another never going to happen? Okay.
That's what it's either a never going to happen or another or something that we have seen but hasn't been talked about yet.
Okay. If it's going to be a never going to happen, okay, never going to happen, okay, it will be. It might not be next week. It might be not next week, but it will be when the biters finally come, the biters finally arrive. It will be either flying or swimming biters. It will be biters that can traverse terrain that you can't, i.e. cliffs and water.
That's the thing that I'm secretly holding out for is the new biters.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the first things they ever announced.
Yeah. Yeah, the brain thing, which I'm sure is going to fly. But maybe it only hovers and therefore can't get over a cliff. But yes, I'm still waiting on biters. Biters, more of the depth into the tech tree. Weapons and armor. We already know Power Armor 2 and a lot of things that go with Power Armor 2 has been moved further into the tree. So, yes. They'll all be changed somehow. Yep. Anyway, I think that is it for Friday Facts number 394. We'll see you guys next week for 395, getting close to 400. Either way, we're going to call here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.
Bye bye.